We are here to appraise the nation on a few developments that have happened in the past. And remember, there is a petition that has been filed before the court, which is coming up for hearing and or directions tomorrow. And part of the team that, or part of the respondents that have been named in that petition is the Cabinet Secretary Interior. And we are here having filed our representation or papers with the court to defend the CS Interior on the said petition that is coming up for directions tomorrow. Remember, this is a petition that has been filed challenging and or asking the abductees to be presented before the court. Now, for starters, we as a council do not in any way support abductions that are happening in the country. Those abductions are not in the forte of the Cabinet Secretary Interior, and with reason. If you look at Article 153 or 54 thereabouts, which forms the cabinet can only give guidance to the instruments or to the apparatus that have been formed by the president or the constitution to run the affairs of governance of this country. And that must be in writing. The CS Interior was appointed into this docket on the 19th of December to be at the helm of this docket. Before, he was in the sports docket. The previous CS was holding in that porte, and even the current one do not have any resolution that has been passed by cabinet over the issues that are attendant to the petition that is coming up for mention or hearing tomorrow. Decision must be in writing, and therefore it follows that there is somebody who is sleeping on the job. And who is this somebody? And if you go to the Constitution, again, Article 245, Sabbatical 4 and Sabbatical 5 dictate or directs that the National Police Service is the only entity in this republic that can safeguard life and property. These are Kenyans, these are youths who have been arrested or abducted, and their whereabouts were not known up until what we started seeing yesterday from media, that they have started being, presented. Reports were made, immediately the abductions were made. Reports were made to the police stations that are having jurisdiction over the residence where the abductees were taken from. And by yesterday, close of day, we saw the second last of the abductees being presented at the Ngong police station. Now, the Inspector General of Police and the National Police Service, being the entity that is mandated to protect life and property, are also in as a party in the petition. And there is a communication that was done yesterday by them indicating that they are investigating this matter and they are getting to the bottom of it so that they can know who is responsible for the abductions, where these abductees were kept all these days that they were out, and therefore it does not stay in the forte of the CS Interior to render any justification or explanation as to where the abductees were. Remember, there is no direction that has been given to the National Police Service from the cabinet, and in this case, the CS Interior, or there is no any direction that has been given by the DPP being the only two bodies that can instruct the police on what to do and how to do their investigations. So tomorrow we are coming to court to explain or to tell to the world why the CS Interior is not in this mix of abductions, and the ball has to stop somewhere and not in the docket of the CS Interior. We do not have any written form of communication from the cabinet over that. And remember, even when he took over, there is no any form of communication done previously to see to it that these abductions were sanctioned by the government here meaning the cabinet. And that is why every 5 years or thereabouts we have elections to sieve through who sits in the government meaning the National Assembly, the 6 election positions that we take. But for these other officers, the civil servants, where the National Police Service officers are part and parcel of the team, they don't get vetted after every 5 years. So the ball stops with the National Police Service, and that is what we're going to say. And that is what our papers that we have filed in court are talking about, that the CS Interior is not a necessary party in this petition that has been filed, and there is no any other explanation that he has to render, legally speaking, because under the Constitution, he has not breached a piece of that hallowed Constitution. I want to pass on the baton to my colleague Omari to say one or two issues in relation to the petition that's coming up from.
We stand here representing the Interior Cabinet Secretary, formerly called the Minister Wakili Kipchumba Murkomen, as his defense team. First and foremost, on behalf of the CS and under instructions from the CS, he passes the condolences to any parent, any relative, anybody who has lost one of their own beloved ones over the issues of abductions. He, as a parent, as a father, understands the pain of losing a child, and therefore he passes his condolences to those ones who lost their lives and those ones who are associated with those ones who lost their lives. 2, he condemns very seriously any form of extrajudicial actions or extra legal actions taken either by government agencies or by any other criminal involved in the abductions that has hit the nation for the last 2-3 months. Third, as a renowned lawyer and a believer in the rule of law, Kipchumba Murkomen has a new policy that he will be implementing as he has taken over the office of the Cabinet Secretary from the 19th of December. He's very green. He took over Christmas festivities, New Year festivities. He will be sitting to take charge and run the ministry in a different manner. Fourth, we have instructions from the minister, that's the Cabinet Secretary, to put it very clearly. One, that the 2 petitions, one filed by the Law Society of Kenya and another one filed by Senator Okiya Omtata, who have enjoined Kipchumba Murkomen as a respondent, that those petitions are misplaced, and we have instructions to file to strike his name out of the petitions, because one, the job description of a cabinet secretary for interior is defined. His role to the police is only on policy. He can only provide a written policy direction to the Inspector General of Police. Policy does not involve the command structure, which is a preserve of the Inspector General of Police. He has not developed any policy. He shall be developing policy as he sits in office and proceeds with his work as an interior cabinet secretary. 2, the only other relevant place the cabinet secretary for interior comes is when he sits at the National Security Council. When he brings matters national police to the National Security Council. The National Security Council is chaired by the President, not the Interior Cabinet Secretary. 3rd, the financial autonomy of the National Police Service. His Excellency the President granted them the financial autonomy. The Constitution grants the police the operational autonomy and the command autonomy. Therefore, Kipchumba Murkomen is just being dragged into these petitions without any lawful or constitutional reasons or bearing to bring him on board. Out of the actions of the police, as a concerned cabinet secretary, the police have responded adequately through their police spokesperson. And they have put it very clearly that they are going to do thorough investigations. The CS will not sit, he will oversight and see that thorough investigations are conducted. Those who have abducted the young Kenyans, whether they are police officers, whether they are citizens, whether they are foreigners, they will face the full force of the Kenyan law. And the CS is determined that whoever committed an offense shall be held liable. Nobody is above the law, according to the CS for Interior. The CS for Interior is in the process of calling a meeting with all the criminal justice actors, this being the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, the DCI, the Inspector General of Police, so that they discuss the question of abductions. The CS has told us to tell the country to take notice that the Director of Public Prosecution gave instructions pursuant to Article 157 to the Inspector General of Police and the DCI to conclude investigations of all abductions and the files to be forwarded to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution by close, I think, before 15th of this month. So let us not jump the gun. Let us not interfere with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution's directives. It is an independent constitutional office. The IG is an independent constitutional office that only takes directions on matters investigation from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. It does not take directions from the Office of the Cabinet Secretary for Interior. Lastly, the CS for Interior wishes all the students who are traveling back to school a safe journey, to ensure the drivers on the road keep safety on the roads, to ensure the young students who are going to school and pupils are safe in school. And lastly, he assures that under his watch, the country will be safer. Under his watch, property will be safer. And under his watch, the rule of law shall prevail, and no extra legal means shall be entertained, so long as is the Cabinet Secretary for Interior. We shall be representing him tomorrow before the courts, and we shall provide the affidavits and the grounds of opposition and the application to strike out his name from the pleadings as we appear tomorrow before the court. Thank you very much, unless there's any question.
So you're saying that the CSA...
Legal or constitutional instruments to sanction at all. We have laid it very bare that the mandate of protection of security, of property, and life lies with the Inspector General of Police. Him is on policy, but as a citizen of this country and as a minister in charge of interior security, he is concerned, and that is why he is condemning it, and he's come out very clearly. You have seen he has not come out with the Attorney General as his advocate to defend him. He has hired private advocates to hire him to bring to the world that the CS for Interior has not sanctioned, does not condone, and condemns any form of extra legal action called abduction, either by the police, either by citizens, either by terrorists, either by foreigners, either by anybody. And anybody who will be found culpable shall face the full face of the law.